Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Content. This week I'm introducing a slightly less established band. They are called Bash. They are from Southampton and they are pretty bloody good. So here's a little taste before we get into the chat. Okay, so we're good to go. So Bash, introduce yourselves.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, we're Bash. We are a 5-piece pop band. Today we are minus one member because...
He didn't reply to your messages?
Yeah. It's John. He's away. He's with his family, probably having a second...
roast dinner
roast dinner for the week.
Second breakfast.
So yeah, we are a little a pop band in Southampton. Here we go. And I am Amanda.
I'm Angus.
We got Miles.
Joe.
Great. And John is the one
Absentee.
that's ignoring us.
Rip
Yeah.
John.
Yeah. R.I.P. Exactly. And we've done the introductions. I think we should move straight on.
Right. Neil, my question
Yes.
to you is, how often do you record bands as live in the studio? And do you feel this is a help or a hindrance to the energy on the completed recording?
Ooh, I like recording bands live. Not many bands actually like recording live. There is like a rule of thumb that if you're going to record live, you have to be super well rehearsed. Quite often when you're in the studio and you're working with a band, you're multi-tracking, you'll find yourself in a situation where, for example, the guitarist will say something like this to the bassist, "Oh shit, I didn't realise you played that note there." That happens way more than people would expect. Like, I'm playing a major, why are you playing a minor? That kind of thing. So if you're doing it live, those things kind of get a bit blurry. Maybe not the major minor, that's kind of easy to hear. But you have to be super tight to pull it off live.
Everyone needs to know what's going on. And
Yeah, there's something really cool about it that I don't think it imbues your record with any magic quality unless you're kind of engaged in the process and you have that additional knowledge that it was performed live. There's something cool about that. I don't think it has like a fundamental effect on the energy. Like you can still get that kind of energy in a production even if you don't live track.
Right.
But as part of the kind of production of it, knowing that it was all done live and it sounds cool, and yeah, I dig it. I think there is something fun about doing it. There's more mistakes and more problems and more fuck ups that I just let go, which is you kind of cut yourself much more of a break, both technically and artistically, and for the band performance wise. Those little imperfections, you don't really notice them, or if you do, you don't care.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're multi-tracking, everything's under that magnifying glass, and every mistake is poured over and rectified, and it can become kind of anodyne by doing that.
Sometimes if you have something that's even just like not even just like a demo or something, or you hear something that's been like tracked live and you hear something that shouldn't be there or is different to like maybe there's like a live version, they do a gig on like Audio Tree or something and there's something different, it becomes part of that recording version of it, and I don't mind it. Like there'll be like something different, or I notice something nerdy, like the snare sounds different in that place or something. I'm like, that's really cool, and I know it's not that version.
I find that as well because I listen to a load of old man music, don't I? And so all of my classic great records, a lot of them were tracked with the bass and the drums on the same track or whatever. And there's I don't know, as you say, there's this kind of thing where it's like, oh, wow, it was performed live. How romantic in a way. It
is the romance of it, you're right, because it is. I think that like the listener kind of imbues it with a bit of the romance as well. But there's some records I've made in the past where we've done stuff live, and we did this punk record, Daly and I, last summer, and we did a whole 12-track album in 2 days or something crazy like that.
That's cool.
And it is super cool, and everything's really economical. Like if there's lead guitar breaks, one of the left guitar or the right guitar just disappear. It's that kind of. And I'll notice it and be like, "Oh, is that weird?" But if you're just listening to it, you wouldn't think you wouldn't acknowledge it. It's just something that happens. All right, so each of you can answer for this. What job would you be awful at?
I'm not quite sure. Probably anything with like public health or something.
Yeah.
Like managing a operation, cutting somebody open.
Being a surgeon.
I don't know. You go first, Angus.
What? Oh God. You're probably something like a real strict, probably like being a politician or something, like something where you really had to watch what you were saying. I reckon I'd be fired instantly if I was like a news presenter or whatever.
Yeah, 'cause you like swear a lot.
Yeah, stuff always just slips out and I'm like, oh God, what have I said? Which is how it should be.
No,
so you're Amanda surgeon.
Yeah, I'd be horrible.
I think without training, I wouldn't want any of you to be a surgeon.
Oh, we're peeking. I don't know. Maybe a stripper. I couldn't be like awfully sexy in front of people. Well, it's a horrible example.
I think, to be fair, none of us would make very good prostitutes.
It's when you watch too much Louis Theroux or like, I don't know, Most Wanted on Netflix, and you look at like how, I don't know, I don't know how people do it, you know? It's a very brave profession about like...
Joe, what would you be?
I would be I'm really, really bad at maths in my head. Like,
and
appalling.
on the
I really
paper.
can't. Well, yeah. If I had to do something really specific, like you were saying a couple of months ago, Neil, like someone who like does the radio towers and the airplanes, and they got to like tell them to not like crash into each other.
Right, like an air traffic controller.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be very good at anything really specific and intense because I make a lot of mistakes. So like, I have to get something wrong to then get it right. So I can't.
All right. So maybe don't be an air traffic controller.
No, I don't think I should do that.
Miles, what
and
are you saying?
I'd probably struggle with two jobs. Probably being the head of like some massive underground drug cartel. I think I'd be appalling at that.
What's this based on? Is this experience?
I really can't go into.
He owes a lot of money.
Otherwise, I owe a lot of money, and I own a lot of money. And then I think I'd be a pretty rubbish, like a carer, just like a full-time carer to someone.
Right.
Because I think I'm too selfish for something like that. I wouldn't want to give all of my life away. I reckon there's a lot of that's being completely selfless to do something like that, and it's something that I wouldn't be capable of because I'd probably sneak off and just read a book in a toilet and be like, well, I'm not dealing with you now. Come on.
I think a lot of people would be the same. It's brave of you to admit that you are a piece of shit.
Oh, I'm an awful, awful human being, you know.
I'm
not a liar.
Not a liar.
But I am a liar.
Honest, yeah. Cracking. Well, there's some interesting answers. So,
what would you be awful at?
So when I was about 15 or 16, I needed a job. Where I grew up was very rural, so the jobs I had in the summer were stuff like rose picking and stuff like that.
Aww.
And,
romantic.
So romantic.
one summer I got a job as a farmhand. So I went along at 6 a.m. in the morning to this farm and got ushered into the back of a trailer on the back of a tractor with loads of old boys hunched over, just throwing seeds into the dirt as this tractor gently kind of like drove along the field for about 8 hours. And at the end of the day, I mean, no one spoke. No one spoke to me. No one spoke. There's no conversation at all.
We're here to suffer and nothing else.
It's just these old farm boys. And then at the end, the farmer came up to me and said, "See you at 6 tomorrow." I said, "I don't think you will." And he went, "Well, fuck off then." And that was the end of that job.
Jeez.
I appreciate that work has to be done, and that I sound like a snooty guy looking down my nose at these bumpkin kind of people. I'm sure they were very nice.
Hey, that tractor costs a lot of money.
Yeah, they're very
got
expensive.
loads of cash.
It was a very strange experience for me as a wannabe musician. Kind of found myself in the back of a tractor with a bunch of old men not talking to me.
What else have you worked before becoming a musician or realising that you wanted to do music?
Oh, I worked in a couple of cinemas. That suited me quite well. And worked in a pub, worked in a bar, worked in a guitar shop.
Ooh.
That was a piece of cake. But the guy that owned it was a cunt.
I always find it's either one or the other when you go into a guitar shop. They're either really like annoying or really nice.
I've got so many stories
from
that guitar shop, but it would be a take all day. Right, your turn.
So, as a young person trying to get into production, music production nowadays, obviously it's just really easy to just Google stuff like, how do I hear compression or blah, blah, blah. Do you think that it's actually helpful or like unhelpful to try and learn everything from the internet?
I'd say unhelpful, based on that you don't really know who these people are. There's a lot of content out there. And a lot of the time, I'm not saying that I have pedigree, but you don't know what pedigree they have. And so you could be taking advice which is based on not having a great listening environment and making decisions that aren't the best decisions to make.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things. I think, obviously, you've cornered me a little bit because I teach music production as well. So I have to say there's value in being taught by experts such as me. I think, actually, you know what? As part of teaching, you get this thing. You'd know because you'd have had to fill it out, but the EverSys evaluation system. So you have to kind of say what you think of the course and what you think of the content you were taught. And one of the complaints I got this year was that I wasn't specific enough. And that quite often when asked a direct question about how to do something, my response would be along the lines of, you have to experiment because it's different every time. And while I can completely understand if you're new to something which crosses the boundaries of art and technology, that being told you got to figure it out yourself is frustrating, it's also 100% the truth. So there's only so much you can gain from looking at Stephen Slate, be like, this is how I make my drums. Sorry, what drums? What fucking record have you made? Like, what albums are you producing? Like, this is a dude trying to sell a product. So him saying I boost 8K, 16 decibels at 8K on my snare every time, like, that is not going to work every time. Might work once in a while if it might work, but also you don't have to smash the bits out of everything. Not everything has to sound plasticky bright, super modern production. Some things, like Miles is going to prefer something that sounds like it was recorded in a bin.
Well, this is the thing. It's like when you go back when you're talking about the specificness of things, you can't be specific in an answer because music isn't specific.
Well, it's all subjective, isn't it? Like,
exactly, and what I hear and how I react to things are completely my experience, like my experience to be part of, not like all the experience I have. Like I might hear something and think like, oh, I need to cut 8K, whereas Stephen Slate might be like, turn 8K up. So learn off the internet, probably not.
I think as well, it's like a bit, say you're Googling one question, that's like that one little slice of that person's like experience and advice they've got to give. And like, it sort of takes out of context, like everything else they're doing and all that kind of thing.
It's such a contextual thing. Like they might have found that experience worked when they were making an EDM track. But if you're trying to make a folk track and you're Googling for tips and tricks and stuff like that, there's a bunch of fundamentals that it's important to learn. There's a bunch of things it's important to understand how they work, but ultimately it comes down to experience and trying to be creative with things. Some of the best records I've ever heard have been created by or mixed or produced by non-musicians or by people with no experience of making, of producing a record. Because
they listen.
So, and ultimately if they're like engaged with it and invested in it, like I think that's what I found in uni, because I obviously came with like a little knowledge of like in like production field or whatever. Because I think it's like on student part, on your part too, you've got the professionals there. You have to use all your time to experiment and bring the examples to the professionals to listen then, because I find the internet is great to learn the basics of like, this is that, this is this, but not like, this is how you should do it. But this is you can use for that, you can use for this. And then whether in your time you experiment with it on like examples on your tracks or whatever. So I find I wasted that time of not doing that, not approaching people in uni, like lectures and being like, hey, can you have a listen? Can you listen to this or that? And not doing that. So therefore, that's why I didn't learn as much, And that's why I think a lot of people come out of uni and they're like, oh, they didn't teach me anything. But you just didn't. That's why I find myself now like relearning again. Almost relearning.
Yeah. And then now I understand, because in real world, then I need to try and then reach out to these people and be like, hey, can you listen to this? Now I understand why do people do it. Because I was like, yeah, you just do this and that and then and then reach nothing, basically.
Well, I think the internet model is quite a passive style of learning. You're there absorbing what the instructor on the screen is telling you what to do, and then you do that process on your stuff. But ultimately, you can't kind of extend that experience. So, for example, if you Googled how do I mix a snare drum and the person on the screen is saying boost 8K, boost 200 hertz, gate it a bit, compress it a bit, you do that, and then you're like, oh, okay, but this has caused this problem, and this is not interacting with this bit properly. What do I do then? Face to face with somebody, or having a relationship with somebody that can then kind of like take that a step further. In education theory, it's scaffolding. So you would say, all right, so in this scenario, you can hear that it's not interacting with the vocal properly because the vocal's got a lot of content here, or there's a part of the mix which is, transient heavy or blah, blah, blah. You can kind of be like, oh, okay, so I need to kind of think about these two things and how they relate to each other. You don't get that from watching a video online. You don't get that two-way sort of communication, that kind of dialogue. I'm not discounting it. I Google shit all the time if I forget, how something works.
I love the manual.
That's
normal. Yeah,
just Google it. So it's super handy, and like the amount of resources we've got. But I just don't think anyone, even massive names like some of my favorite mixers and producers have got stuff on Mix for the Masters and all that kind of stuff. And you sit and watch it, and you think, "Fuck me, that sounds great." And it's because they're hearing it in their space with their tools and they're reacting to that. But I'm not in that space with those tools and I don't react the same. So if I went and copied their process, I'm not going to get a record that sounds like Tom Lord Alge or Spike Stent or something because I'm not them. I'm going to get a weird approximation of it. So, I don't know. I've got a bit of a tendency to ramble on these kind of answers. So sorry if that went well off piste. My turn. Okay, so what takes up too much of your time?
Oh, God. Dungeons and Dragons. Naming swords. 100%.
Yeah, that's a good one.
This is a band thing as well, isn't it?
Kinda, yeah.
Almost,
we're trying to get Miles into it, but he's still reluctant.
I'm not.
He's too busy reading books.
Amanda loves it.
Amanda loves it.
Amanda loves Dungeons and Dragons.
I think probably I love watching self-improvement videos on YouTube, and probably worrying a lot takes a lot of my time. Like while you're doing something, you're like, is this right? Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? And then it's just an underlying anxiousness all the time. But hey, we're getting through it. We're getting over it. YouTube, I'd say. Here you go.
YouTube. Okay. Dungeons & Dragons YouTube. Miles?
I think, again, with what Amanda was saying, probably part of the worrying thing.
You don't strike me as a worrier. You always seem very confident.
Yeah, there's that bullshit exterior to the crying child within
gooey underbelly.
We're going to break through that.
Oh,
today.
no, that's already been broken through many times. Probably a lot of that. And then, like, I find if I've, I'm doing a few sort of covers with people at the moment, I find the more stuff that I take on, the more I procrastinate. And the more because, like, I've downloaded this game recently called Lego Legacy. And it's amazing, Neil. It's all your favourite Lego characters from back in the day. Back in the day when we were nippers, Yeah, it's all of them in a game, and they've targeted this game at me, and it's wonderful. And I've been spending more time on that than I have been practicing bass with a click track. Yeah, probably a lot of that stuff and worrying once again. Joe, what about you?
Xbox. No, I mean, especially in lockdown at the moment.
Dinosaur game.
Dinosaur game.
What is dinosaur game?
There's a game called Ark Survival Evolved where you basically run around on a...
It's amazing.
You run around as a caveman.
You're a caveman and you tame dinosaurs and ride them.
Wow.
Isn't that Turok? Wasn't that?
Oh, yeah, Turok. That was on like PS2.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never didn't know about that. But, I've been annoyed at myself for being unproductive in lockdown.
This is a lockdown
competition,
issue,
productivity
competition.
competition.
especially with social media. Fuck me.
Well, you know what I did? I delete my Instagram during the day, like literally delete the app. So if I want to go on it, I have to I download it again, and it actually helps me. Like, because I've tried that. What is it? Limiting your time on social media. You've got an iPhone, you can set your time for daily usage of social.
Oh, really?
Yeah, social your apps. But I usually skip through it. So there's this thing about, I've read, listened to this book on Audible. It's called Atomic Habits, and it's how to make some habits that are bad habits, just make them hard to do. So you then do it less. So by deleting the app.
Well, I wear spiky gloves.
Yeah. So I'm making it harder for myself to like use the Instagram because it's quite a bit. Anyway, sorry for interrupting, Joe.
No, definitely though. I mean, that's a good point because Amanda, you actually showed me this app for I think you can get it on Chrome. And you get it on Facebook, and it basically deletes the news feed on Facebook.
It shows you an inspirational quote.
It's absolutely, and it shows you an inspirational quote, which is very nice. But I actually didn't think I used Facebook that much, and then when I got it, I was like absolutely amazed at how much time I wasn't spending scrolling.
There's so much on there.
It's called Facebook Feed Eradicator. So basically, you go on there, you see your notifications, you can check everything. It doesn't show you your feed, but every day it pops up with a new motivational quote. And where did I see it? Was it self-improving YouTube videos?
I thought you were going to say an Instagram.
No.
I saw a tweet about it. So.
Yeah.
I mean, I used for like in normal life, I use Twitter for basically football. And now there's no football. I'm sort of scrolling through Twitter and there's nothing on it. I'm like, why am I doing this?
Wandering around the desert.
Why is everything gone? It's just, this bizarre anxiety about achieving stuff, and it's really hard, isn't it? It stresses me out.
Because logically, everyone's got more time and you can get things done, but it's not helpful when there's like this weird pressure to do stuff when you don't like have to, if you don't want to, and then like then you just basically make yourself worse because you're like feeling anxious about everything, and you just sat at home drinking, being anxious, and you're not doing, which is, you don't have to do
that. Sounds like normal life now.
It's because as well, because I think we don't know how to relax in because this like Western American dream lifestyle of like, I'm not going to go to my kid's dance because I need to work. I'm making money for my like family and shit. And that not being able to organize the time to relax, to not do anything, I think. Because if you plan the time for work and then plan the time to relax, then I think your mind gets used to it and your like subconscious gets used to it. I find that. But it can be tricky, I suppose, and we want to overwork ourselves, use more hours in a day to do more productive stuff, and then you're more procrastinating and it's shit anyways. So.
I read something that really stressed me out the other day, which was basically once you burnt yourself out, you never actually recover from it.
Brilliant.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh no, don't say that.
I can't wait for that.
Horrible thought.
So, what was the latest book you've read and what was it about?
I just finished reading Rosewater Insurrection, which is the second in a trilogy, and it was shit.
Oh, no.
The first one was kind of cool. It was like a weird... I've read a few Nigerian books in a row.
In Nigerian?
No, in English.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, it would be amazing. For some reason, I just read a few books in a row, and they've all been by Nigerian authors. And the first one was like kind of like fantasy sci-fi, and it was kind of cool. It's kind of kooky. It had a different, when you watch a film from a different culture or read a book from a different culture, like things are different. There are things that are like, hey, that's interesting. Like the dynamics between men and women appear to be different, and so on and so forth. The first one was kind of cool. It was quite abstract in places, and then the second one was just it was just shit. The other Nigerian book before Rosewater was My Sister the Serial Killer, which was cool. I really enjoyed that. It's super quick. I just did it in like a day and a half, 2 days kind of thing. It's really fast, and it's cool. The best book I've read lately, a book called Born by Jeff Vandermeer, who wrote...
Oh, yes!
Have you read it?
No, I love Jeff Vandermeer though.
I didn't like Annihilation.
Yeah.
But I love the film.
Yeah, I love the film. Yeah, I used to work in Waterstones and I sold Born to a lot of people.
Born's really cool. It's like super psychedelic, weird acid trip.
Yeah.
Sci-fi.
That's how I described it to all the customers. I was like, it's sci-fi, but like way more of a trip.
It's a proper trip. It's the first book I've read in years where I felt like I really had sort of visualized everything, because it was really well written. I didn't like Annihilation as a book, but I love the film.
I'm really annoyed. I used to be really read loads, and in the last couple of years I haven't read anything because I have to get really into it.
This is one of my anxiety punishing myself things, that I hadn't read a book in ages. I think probably at its worst, about 5 or 6 years ago, it took me a year and a half to read 1Q84.
Oh my! It took me 1 year and a half to read it, and I haven't read the third book, because it's a trilogy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It took me ages.
It's a real struggle to get through it.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm not the only one. Great. Do you listen to audiobooks?
I do, yeah. In fact, I can tell you what I was listening to. One of my favourite book series is Rivers of London.
Oh, yeah. Is that Joe Abercrombie?
No, it's written by Ben Aronovich.
Okay.
And the newest one of those came out quite recently. That was really good. False Value. Before that, I listened to The American War by Omar El Akkad, which was pretty cool. Pretty good. It's like set in the future, 50 years in the future. And it's kind of like a fucked up vision of America, split as a split nation, almost like a new independent war kind of thing. What's the most annoying habit someone in the band's got?
I'm really bad at like biting skin off my thumb and like spitting it everywhere.
Fucking hell!
I know everyone's annoyed about it. No one's ever said it, and I know you're annoyed about it, and I'm sorry.
Not really. I don't even know.
It's called also cannibalism.
Whenever I see it, I always bring it up, and then you get cranky with me.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. No, it's just a really bad habit I've got where I just sort of like, just, a little bit of sting. And everyone that knows me will know, like, are you still doing that? No?
That's fucking disgusting, Joe. Thanks for that.
I think when you live together with people, you just notice these little things. I think everyone's got like different things we knows about. Yeah. About Joe, I noticed that when he drinks...
We've done me.
Okay.
Move on.
I know it's just a joke.
We can all say what you hate
focus
about
all of these on Joe. That's fine.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, you say for what?
I don't know.
Hang on. What does Joe do with the drink?
No.
When he drinks, he drinks little sips. Like he would have water.
Just a little sipper.
Yeah, like.
Don't make it last. So how much water's left in the world, do we? Could run out any day.
I'm a gulper.
He's enjoying the water.
I do swill it around in the glass though. That's
you swirl it.
You're preparing for your life as a 50-year-old man with your like glass.
When I can afford whiskey, it will look more impressive.
Angus, any thoughts?
What do I do?
You bite your nails.
I bite my nails, but that's not an annoying habit. It doesn't affect people's lives that much. I think I annoy Miles sometimes by going in the toilet at like 2 a.m. and listening to deep fried memes really loud.
Angus, when you have a bath is the worst thing that you can ever do, because he brings his Bluetooth speaker in a bathroom and he cranks it up so the whole house can hear whatever Joe Rogan that he's listening to.
Oh, Angus.
And so it's like, I mean, the thing is, I don't mind it, because I'll go down in the kitchen in the morning, he'll be watching one on his laptop, but the point is he cranks it up to high heaven because he wants to hear it. It's mostly when you're trying to listen to it over the shower. And I heard you, was it yesterday, you were listening to one where he was
the Game of Thrones one.
Yeah, right. And then they hadn't adjusted the microphones properly, so it got to the next person speaking, and she boomed across the house.
Yeah, oh my God!
It distorted. And I heard you in the shower. You were like, "Oh man!"
See, I'm a really good sleeper then, because I didn't know that it happened.
Yeah, that happened.
Jesus.
Can you not hear it, Joe, in your room?
Well, if I can't hear anything over my snoring, then nothing's gonna.
Wow, this is bringing up all sorts, isn't it? We better move on. What you got for me?
So, Neil, do you believe in God, and do you believe that eventually religion is going to fade away as we strive towards a technological and dystopian future?
A dystopian future, guaranteed dystopian future. We're in a dystopian future right now. So, Amanda, thanks for that question. My answer to the question is, I don't personally believe there is a God.
But we can probably separate the God and religion and like the lessons and the ideology, mythology of it. Like
the only way I can possibly get on board with anything that is like not meaning the ideology, I mean like the actual like there being like a higher power, is if there is an extremely advanced other race of life somewhere, and that we would, to us, they would appear to be gods. I can kind of get on board with that.
You know that book, what is it, Homo Sapiens? Yeah, so he's got about the future now. I'm reading it now, and he said he suggests that eventually we're going to evolve from Homo Sapiens through to something else. Because at the moment, we are like in a stage where we are animals. We are the part of animal kingdom, and eventually we're just going to evolve into something that's above Homo Sapiens, and then we're going to just forget about the religion, and we're going to become semi-gods ourselves.
I think if we can get to technological maturity where we can be relied on not to annihilate ourselves, either with pandemics from bugs that escape from labs. Not saying that's what I think's happened now, but it's a possible thing that could happen, or a nuclear holocaust, or whatever. If we can reach technical maturity to the point where we have harness the power of quantum computing and all that kind of wonderful stuff, then we could eventually we don't need a body anymore. We can exist in a digital form, and then we are basically spirits in the machine, aren't we? We're not really. I mean, I don't think we'll get there because we'll fuck it up somehow. We've got Trump and Boris Johnson and Bolsonaro and Putin and all these people, like the worst people on earth, seem to get to the top. So why would I have any faith that we're going to conquer the concept of religion and just get on with being decent people without the fear that someone's going to strike a bolt of lightning down on us or something?
So you wouldn't consider yourself a spiritual man, Neil?
No, I'm not very spiritual.
But can you?
I like incense every now and again.
A little bit.
You can be like at peace with yourself, can't you? Or do you not feel that yet?
I'm the
do you
worst.
think you're gonna? But do you think you're gonna get there?
Am I going to get where?
Are you going to become some sort of demigod where you fly up upon the horizon, cast down, and say, "I am your leader," and separate the waters?
I don't know. I mean, I can work towards that as a goal, I suppose. But
okay,
baby steps.
No, I think when we die, everything just disappears, and there's a bunch of weird shit that I can kind of get on board with because I kind of dig the concept of it, like reincarnation, kind of interesting. Some weird circumstantial evidence that people feel that they've experienced stuff before, and I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not saying I believe it, but
it's a good story.
I'm not saying for a second I think I understand and know everything and there is nothing else to know, because that's nonsense. Like, we thought that 200 years ago, and we probably thought it 50 years ago, and there's loads of shit we don't understand. So my current theory is that we are living in a simulation, though. So this kind of aligns with your question, Amanda. Which mystery do you wish you knew the answer to?
Bigfoot. Right, I just love the idea of being a large, intelligent, undiscovered primate in Northern America. I think that's lit. I love the idea of it. I love the image. Seems cool, man. Seems fun.
Cool.
I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm dodging the question, but I like mystery. I genuinely don't mind. Not like I'm really good at not.
Oh, you woofter!
I'm genuinely really good at like not giving into like curiosity. If someone's just like, "Ooh, mystery," I'm like, "Okay."
It's not the mystery of why you can't make a snare sound good.
No, that's exactly it. I'm happy to do that for the rest of my life. No, to be honest, I'm just happy chugging along. Like, I don't really care. I don't really care about what happens after death, as long as I have fun before I die, I guess. So like, people worry too much about it, spend too much time wondering about it. It's like just get on with doing stuff you can actually do.
If I can ever, I mean, I'm sure I'll be long dead before you hit your deathbed, but I'd kind of like to be at your deathbed being like, still not worried about it? Come on, Amanda, what you got?
Good one, Bigfoot.
Bigfoot's welcome.
You know what? When I was a kid, my granddad used to watch this Russian channel, and the Bigfoot was all over the channel. Every night, it would be either Russian missiles, the new equipment, I don't know how to destroy the world, and Bigfoot.
So, where did you grow up? Latvia?
Me in Latvia, yeah.
So no, like, mysterious Latvian shit?
Latvian Bigfoot?
I mean, we're pagans, so maybe like pagan gods, or like, I don't know, the way...
Hang on, are you taking the piss out of me? You're actually pagans?
Well, Latvians are like naturey people before the Germans came and before the Pope religion came. So we were like, we're gonna wear animal masks and be
kind of like Scotland.
Yeah,
is now.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's called a beard, Neil.
I can't grow one, so I didn't realise that's
the
what
women,
it was.
women would grow a beard as well.
Well, that was a disappointing question. So give me one of your questions.
Okay.
What is your favourite conspiracy theory and why?
Oh, my favourite one? Oh, there's loads. I'm gonna confess to something. Like, I do spend an awful lot of my time listening to podcasts, reading whatever about ridiculous bullshit that would fall under the category of like paranormal conspiracy theory kind of shit.
Neil believes in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot, actually.
But you don't believe in God?
No, I think Bigfoot might be God.
It's actually much more
one and the same. No, I can kind of get on board with the idea that there's an undiscovered primate. I've got no beef with that.
Yeah,
like we only discovered that there was an extinction event that killed the dinosaurs like 30 years ago. That's quite a big deal.
Mm.
So why can't there be a relatively rare undiscovered primate? It doesn't seem that ridiculous to me. Conspiracies that I like, I don't really get on board with 9/11. My theory is that they probably knew something was going to happen and didn't act, and that kind of aligns with how I think America acts with a lot of stuff, like Pearl Harbor and sinking of the Mauritania, is it, from World War One? I don't know. I don't think I'm educated enough to really give you stats and stuff, but it always feels like America quite like having a bit of a fight.
A reason to do something.
Yeah. and it always helps the economy, and you get to be a war president and all that kind of stuff. But a conspiracy theory that I honestly believe and I'm interested in, I think a lot of the things I think are conspiracy theories probably aren't really theories anymore. They're just legitimate conspiracies, like Russian interference with voting, Cambridge Analytica over here and their influence on the Brexit vote, and surprise, surprise, people like Nigel Farage aren't very nice. And they're not actually motivated by believing in the stuff they say. They're actually motivated in the fact that they get loads of cash out of it. That kind of thing is the stuff I fully buy into. On the weird tip, Princess Diana probably was killed, or at least put into a situation where she could die.
Yeah, it's a couple of really interesting ones. And I think also when you even if you just hear the tip of the iceberg of something for the first time, like first time I heard something about like the moon landing and someone just giving some like what they were saying, facts and stuff, it was just really interesting. Apparently NASA don't have the original tapes for the moon landing, like anywhere. They just admitted to not having them.
I don't think it's that hard to believe that like the magnetic tapes recorded in 1960 whatever have degraded to the point where they're basically worthless. Like if they were just stored the way a government stores data, like it wouldn't surprise me at all.
The weirdest thing about it is that they could have faked it pretty easily. That's the funnier thing, I think. And then, it's just like TV and stuff. Like, just like would have been easier to fake it.
This question came up on a podcast I've recorded recently, and one of the guys on it said he's fully convinced. He'd like to know if we did, but he doesn't think we did.
Wow.
A conspiracy like that is just, you need so many people involved in it, it becomes impractical to think that it'd be kept under wraps.
Yeah, it's almost harder to make it a conspiracy than to actually do it kind of thing. There's like that payoff point.
Exactly. So this is something I've heard about a few times, and it always just amazes me. I'll give you the brief and you tell me what you think.
Okay. So
there's claims that basically between 1982 and 1990, so it's 8 years, 25 British-based GEC Marconi scientists and engineers who worked on the Stingray torpedo project and other United States Strategic Defense Initiative related projects. So that's Project Star Wars, for anyone that's an 80s kid, died under mysterious circumstances. So 25 scientists or engineers working for one company that worked on a number of secretive kind of projects died over 8 years. And some of the deaths are fucking weird. Like, it's like orange in the mouth, plastic bag over the head, dildo in the arse kind of thing.
What the fuck?
That's
really
the way I want to go to be.
Like really, really strange things.
No way.
I remember listening to that and thinking like, how can anyone have any doubt that there's something suspicious going on there?
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, then you think, well, how many people work for GEC Marconi? If it's 1 million people and 25 of them died over 8 years, it's not that weird. But if there's 100 people working on it and a quarter of them are dead,
jeez,
it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
My answer would probably be that. My last question is my fave, which is, have you ever seen a ghost, or do you have a ghostly tale to tell?
No, when I was a kid, I was sleeping with my grandma in a room, and
What?
Oh, Jesus Christ! This
She was a Catholic priest.
I was like 6, but I was very scared of like death and night, and I would think that I would like the earth would like explode, and I would like float in the air, and like wouldn't have my parents. So I would sleep with somebody when I was a kid. So I slept with my grandma, and I remember waking up during the night and seeing my granddad at the end of the bed with like lit up eyes. Like they would light up, and I was like red, and I was like, "Hoo!" And sort of I got scared and went back to sleep. But I don't remember if that was a reality or not.
One of my absolute best friends of all time. I grew up with him since I was like 5 years old. Big man, Will. Basically, yeah, ever since we were like uber young, he always used to tell me about all this stuff he'd seen, and he said his mum used to tell me as well, because I was really close to him. I used to stay around his house, and him and his mum used to see things all the time, and he used to say like he'd see like different people standing at the end of his bed. His mum was a nurse, and she said because she's seen so many people die, spirits sort of come to her for comfort, going to like the great beyond kind of thing. When he was like 10, he said he like woke up in the middle of the night, went to go pee, and he was like mid-wee, and he looks over and there was like a pale white hand on his shoulder.
Oh my God.
And he was like, whoa, and there was no one there. And he said he talked about like, there'd be like angry spirits, and they'd like throw stuff off his shelves and that kind of thing. And like he'd wake up in the morning and it would all still be on the floor. And I remember him saying about basically there'd always be a man with a hat on, like a sort of a top hat or like a bowler hat kind of thing at the end of his bed, and it would always be really angry. And if you, now this is like just being weird internet stuff, if you go online and you look at like, people always talk about online about seeing shadow people, right? That's like the archetype of a ghost is like the shadow person.
The man in the hat stuff.
Yeah, so loads of people say they see the man in a hat, and it's always like a angry, violent figure they see.
That's why dogs don't like people.
Yeah, that's why dogs don't like people with hats. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. And it was from when we were kids. And like when I go home now, he'll tell me about stuff he's seen. Or
if I can talk frankly for a minute, I think your friend is reaching out for help and support. And I think you need to give it to him. Okay, Joe, God. What have you seen? What ghoulish things have you seen?
I really haven't got like any crazy good stories. When I was really young, I thought I saw a ghost. When I think about it now, I'm older, I don't think it was. But at the time, I was sleeping with my door open, and like on the wall in the landing was a picture of my mum and dad on like their wedding day. And then one day I was just going to sleep, and in the shine of the glass on the picture, I thought I saw something move, because I was on a bunk bed as well, so I was sort of head level with it, like across the landing. Thought I saw something move in it, but it was like everyone was in bed, but like most people used to sleep with the doors open in my house, in the bedroom doors. So it would have been like the angle would have been in like my like two younger brothers' room, and I was like, well, they're just both asleep, so that's really weird. So I sort of kept looking at it for a bit, and it looked like, for some reason, it looked like, you know, an old like nurse would have like a white headdress thing on, yeah, like Florence Nightingale or something. It looked like
a nun. Like a nun,
yeah. Or something like that. Like, and I thought I saw someone like that in the reflection of this glass picture, like looking around, like distressed. And I was like, what?
Did you grow up is it Dunstable you're from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I grew up just not far from there, and there's always tales of Southill being like this really spooky, haunted place. Yeah. Southill's near Dunstable, isn't it?
I'm not sure. It's Clophill. I think that's...
Oh shit! Sorry.
Yeah, no, Clophill. The church in Clophill.
Is that where the church facing the wrong way? Yeah, that's
facing the wrong. Exactly. Yeah.
Bunch of pagan stuff going on there.
Because when I was a kid, I've always been like really into this stuff. I don't necessarily believe it, but I love it. When I was about 12, me and my friend in this little village decided we were Ghostbusters. This is how much of a fucking rube we were, how much of rubes we were. He lived on a farm and he had a white, maybe like Escort Mark 1 estate or something, and we painted the Ghostbusters logo on the front of it and would drive it up and down the track at his farm, like
man,
a proper bumpkin kind of stuff. And so one day we decided to go door to door knocking on people's doors in this village asking if they had any ghosts and if they needed us to get rid of them. And obviously most people were like, get the fuck out of there, kind of stupid kids kind of thing. But there was one row of houses. I say row of houses, it was like they were from the, I don't know, 16th century cottages kind of thing. We knocked on this door and this little old lady was there and she said, oh yeah, I've got a ghost, come on in, I'll tell you all about it. And we were like, oh, this is it. We're going to be Ghostbusters. So we get in there and what she actually did was give us like a sandwich and a cup of tea. She was lovely, like lovely old lady, like must be like 90 odd years old. And she said, oh yeah, there's a ghost that haunts this. So this little row of houses used to be part of a monastery. So, and did actually look it up after. It was true that it was part of like a very, very old monastery. It's been built on since then. But she would say that she would very often be sitting in a lounge watching her TV show and she'd hear footsteps coming down the stairs like clunk, 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 and they'd come all the way clunk, clunk, clunk into the living room and just stop. And she just got so used to it that she'd be like, evening.
Yeah.
And that'd be it. Like just clonk, 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 back up the stairs sometimes. And she said occasionally she would see like the outline of something. And I mean, she could have been a fucking crazy old woman. But I remember being like, I don't want to be Ghostbusters anymore.
Well, that's what my friend said. Like he said, like he's seen so many things now. It gets to the point where like you get woken up by something, and like he says, you'd always be like, oh, just fuck off. Like I'm trying to sleep. Yeah,
she just was like nonplussed by the whole thing. Just like, yeah, I know you're there. How you doing?
Yeah.
All right. Just totally like blasé about it. It was a really, really sweet experience.
Also really creepy.
In that, but also like, I don't like being in here anymore.
I actually researched the church thing in
the Clophill thing,
the Clophill church, and like I was just intrigued about it because when we went, I didn't know much about it. So it turns out over the years, people have been doing creepy things in the church, almost playing on it. So people would like digging up graves and leaving bones in the church.
When I was a kid, there was I think a bunch of my friends that lived in Bedford went there, and there was like black candles and stuff outside. Like it's just like been
drawing with like
pentagrams everywhere. So
literally.
It is probably. I mean, it is nonsense, but
I have a theory with the Clophill church. I reckon all the booginess we get from it, all the stories, I reckon it all comes from like Wiccans. Because obviously, like in the, what was it, like the 20s or the 40s or whatever, or 1910s, there was like somewhere before 940, there was like a boom in like people being
spiritualism.
Yeah, like people being involved in spiritualism, and like in England there was a massive thing with like Wiccan and practicing like Wiccan religion. And I feel like
so this would be like the Hellfire Club era.
That kind of thing, and like almost pagan rituals. I feel like that's where that comes from. It might have just been a bunch of whack jobs doing some Wiccan thing that they read in a book, and that's where that came from.
A long time ago, my parents, my mum, I think, found, I can't remember if she found or one of her friends had it, but they had this really fucking old map. There was a map of haunted places in Northill, where I grew up, or like the parish of Northill. So it was like 4 or 5 villages, and it was like a penmanship style map with like these woods here are haunted by a white lady, and this building here is haunted by it was something like that. I remember getting that when I was a teenager and being like, fucking hell, it's cool, like it's cool, like cool little artifact of something. I mean, obviously 9 times out of 10 is complete nonsense, but that is just one of those things about growing up in the countryside. When I did the idea that everywhere was haunted was something that kind of everyone just took as a fact.
Yeah, man.
Which is probably why, like, I still kind of interested, even though it's stupid and outdated and a bit cringy. But
Miles, have you got a horror story?
I haven't at all. I think it's one of those things that I'd want to believe it would happen, And so if I saw any inkling of something happening, then I'd be like, yeah, this is it. Even, but then if it was actually happening, I'd be too scared to actually. I'd be like, "Fuck off!" It doesn't even. I
think any experience is in the mind. I think the mind is way more, more powerful and complex, and can trick us much easier than we want to believe. Is my position on it, but still bloody love a ghost story, mind. Right, and on that bombshell, we'll wrap up there.
That's all, folks.